In this video, I'm going to show you how you can set up a WACC calculation in Excel when you're given lots of different pieces of information. So here I want to calculate the WACC of Italian Charms Incorporated. We have a 15 million par value bond issue outstanding, paying a 7% coupon rate with an 8% yield to maturity and 20 years remaining until maturity. So right up, I notice that this is a $15 million par value rather than a $1,000 par value. I also see that my 7% coupon rate is given, so that's going to be my RD. So the RD is already given to me, but I will still need to do a calculation because I know the par value, but I don't know the actual market value of debt. I can find the market value of debt based on that par value, 7% coupon rate, 8% yield to maturity, and 20 years remaining until maturity. So I'm going to scroll over here and show you how I did that. So the present value is going to be the market value. So that's what I have highlighted here to show you how I calculated it, but let's write everything down. So my par value is 15 million. My coupon rate is 7%. How do I get my payment? The same way I normally would, coupon rate times par value, but now because I'm being given a $15 million par value, I don't just assume 1,000. So I take that 15 million and multiply it by 7%, which is how I got 1.05 million for my annual payment. My yield to maturity is 8%. My N is 20, and I use that information to solve for present value. And the next thing I'm going to look at is preferred stock. So for preferred stock, I have a $10 million book value of preferred stock outstanding at a book value of $20 per share, paying a 3% annual dividend and currently selling for $35. Okay. Well, what is this book value information being given to me for? I don't care about book values. I care about market values. All right, and I also don't have a cost that I can figure out right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the book value information to figure out the number of shares of preferred stock outstanding. Then I will use the number of shares and the market value per share to find the total market value outstanding. I can also look here and calculate the cost of preferred stock based on that dividend and market value. So that's easier, so I'm going to do that first. So cost of preferred stock, that's equal to the dividend divided by the market value per share. So it's $3 dividend per share divided by $35 market value per share. So my cost is 8.57%. So that is the cost I'm going to enter into my calculation for preferred stock. Now, that part was easy. Now I need to get the total market value of preferred stock. Okay, and to do that, I used book value information. So I know there's 5 million shares outstanding. I know 5 million book value outstanding. I know the book value per share is 20. So to get the book number of shares, I take the book value of shares outstanding divided by the book value per share. So 5 million divided by 20. And I see that there's 250,000 shares outstanding. Now, in order to get my overall market value of preferred stock, I take the number of shares outstanding, 250,000, times the market value per share. So I come up with my cost of preferred stock here, my market value of preferred stock here as 8.75 million. Then I'm going to move over to equity. I have a $35 million market value of common stock outstanding with a beta of 0.9. I'm told that there's a 4% annual T-bill return, a 12% annual return on the S&P 500, and finally that my firm has a 40% tax rate. Okay, well, I don't need the 40% tax rate yet. All right, so I know my market value of equity, E, is 35 million. I know the risk-free rate of return, the rate of return on the market, and the beta. So I can use that information to and plug that into CAPM to get my required rate of return on equity or common stock. And the way I do that risk-free rate of return plus beta times the quantity, market return minus the risk-free rate, and that's going to give me my market risk premium. So this tells me that my cost of equity capital or common stock is 11.2%. Now, okay, so now I've calculated my market value of debt, my market value of equity, my market value of preferred stock. So I can use those three to get the market value of the firm. The market value of the firm is equal to my market value of equity plus my market value of preferred stock plus my market value of debt. Now, notice that when I figured out the debt, I solved for a present value, so it came out negative. So you will see that negative sign plus negative in order to end up not subtracting the market value of debt. So now I have V, my total market value of the firm. The next step is to calculate my capital structure. So figure out what percentage of that 57 million, roughly, comes from debt, what percentage of that 57 million comes from equity, and what percentage comes from preferred stock. So the way I calculate those weights or that capital structure for equity, it's E over V. So I have 35 million market value of equity divided by 57.277 million in total market value. So I see that roughly 61% of my capital structure comes from equity. I do the same thing for debt. And again, make sure you put that negative sign in there for debt. So I can see that my firm is 23.62% debt financed. And finally, that it is, see, this is my market value preferred stock divided by V. So I can see that it's 15.28% preferred stock financed. Now I plug everything into my WACC equation to get my overall weighted average cost of capital. Okay, so remember, what is my cost of debt? It's my RD. It is my coupon rate on my existing debt. What is my cost of preferred stock? RPS. What is my cost of equity? I use the CAPM equation to find that. Okay, so now I just plug into my WACC equation. So my percentage of financing coming from debt, 23.26%, times my cost of debt, 7%, times 1 minus my tax bracket of 40%, plus my percentage of financing coming from, which one did I do next here? It looks like equity, 61% times my cost of equity financing, which was 11.2%, plus my preferred stock, so 15.28%, times my cost of preferred stock as 8.57%. And that is how I got my overall WACC of 9.15%, roughly.